Welcome to the Crypto Campfire.
They kind of misunderstood the assignment, Mitch and the Professor, featuring special guest Joe Chiappetta.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Campfire podcast. This is the Professor.
And Mitch.
And today we're going to be talking with Joe Chiappetta. Joe is an artist and he created Silly Daddy Comics. He's thoroughly into Bitcoin and is very interested in gamifying and tokenizing art on the blockchain. But before we start talking to Joe, let's grab that crypto news from the Crypto Gent.
Thanks, Professor. Hello, Crypto Campfire listeners, and welcome to the cryptocurrency news in a flash with the Crypto Gent. Deutsche Bank says cryptocurrencies won't replace cash anytime soon. Ditto Music to launch app offering a speedy blockchain solution. And 4 class action suits against Bitfinex over 2017 Bitcoin price row have now been lowered to 1 class action suit. That's the cryptocurrency news in a flash with the Crypto Gent, and it's back to you, Professor.
Thanks a lot, Crypto Gent. So Mitch, how's your Tuesday treating you?
Wow. Man, I've been going like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest since 7 o'clock this morning. I literally just got home 20 minutes ago. I'm on my second beer. I'm ready to do this podcast. It's been a good day. I don't know what Twitter looks like all day, and I don't know what the market looks like at all. But, it's just when you got a lot in front of you and a lot on your plate and it's just balls to the wall work, it's hard to keep up with everything else. But I'll be there tonight and in the morning. So, yeah, it was a good day overall.
Oh, yeah. It's been busy. Sounds like we've had about a similar day. Been going 100 all day long. And yeah, I also don't have a clue what Twitter looks like. I popped my head in a couple times today, but I pulled it right back out because I was like, oh shit, I'm not ready to go down these rabbit holes.
Bro, you go 100 every day, like 20 hours a day. I don't know how the hell you do it. But, it was like yesterday. I was struggling to get that, to get the winner announced for the giveaway we did. And man, it was like last minute. I'm scrambling. But we got her out, and somebody, I gotta send those out. I'm gonna try and get those out before Thanksgiving, but it's probably looking like Monday.
Nice,
so
nice.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, we should have them by the time this podcast releases. So if you're listening, let us know what you think of your Z-Bonds.
Exactly.
So Joe, we met Joe in LA at CIS.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a chance to talk very deeply because we didn't have time left open to get him on the show and do a live stream at that point in time. But we did manage to get this podcast booked. So I'm really excited to talk to him, learn a little bit more about his art and how he wants to improve the art world on the blockchain. So Joe, welcome to the show. What's going on?
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you on the show, man. So before we start getting into the art stuff, because I really feel strongly about gamification and its positive aspects and tokenizing physical objects or even digital art on the blockchain. But I'd like to get a background on you. So what did you do before you discovered crypto? And then how did you get into this space?
Well, that's a whole lot. I didn't start getting, I had a whole career in workforce development and traditional comics publishing, disability employment, before I got into the Bitcoin rabbit hole and learned all about that. So most famous for a cartoon called Silly Daddy, got a number of awards in the space. And it's basically a comic about me being a dad and raising kids and not quite knowing how to do it. And, but as I learned about crypto over the years, I started doing cartoons about crypto. And then that one thing led to another, and here we are.
That's awesome. I love this space so much. And it's like so many people from so many different backgrounds all have come together for one like common goal. And I don't know, it's really cool to see how everybody's background has an application in crypto or with the blockchain data structure, no matter how far away from tech it is, you know? When you got into crypto, was it more of a speculative sort of thing where you pulled in from an investment standpoint, or did you hear about the tech first and how it could help what you're interested in?
So I think because I'm in the arts and and I also a man of faith, Christianity. We're always into systems change and making things better and making it more fair, that kind of thing. So when I first heard about, I think, a documentary about Bitcoin, there wasn't a lot of information about it out there. It wasn't a lot out there. This was maybe 2013 or 2014. And I'm like, you know what, if this takes off, this could change everything. And so that really got me interested, not just from an investment standpoint, but also from a systems change and equality point of view. So fairness and things like that. So that's kind of what really piqued my interest.
It's kind of fun how it spirals like that and starts one place and then you just get totally off into another spot. And
yeah.
So Joe, since you've been in, what have you found to be most captivating about the space? And I mean, I guess I want to par that with, are you on Twitter much?
Yes, I am. I've met really people who have gone on and become really good friends through Twitter. And, you know, I have teenagers and they laugh at me when I say Twitter because they don't, you know, they're more of an Instagram crew and all these other apps, but
Twitter seems apparently to the kids like the fucking cassette tape of 2000.
It's not. It doesn't have the cool factor for whatever reason for somebody under a certain age, but I think it's amazing, and I've leveraged it to make some great relationships. And I can't remember what your original question was.
I asked what captivates you most about the crypto space. I mean, like, is it if it's the tech, what about the tech? And if it's the speculative side of it, then what about what tokens are you or coins are you most intrigued with? Kind of along those lines.
I think the tech is good. Honestly, I think it could be better. The biggest thing about it that I've gotten is the community, and I'll kind of compare it to, not a lot of people are aware of this, but in the 80s and 90s, when copy machines became more prevalent and you didn't have to, you know, own your own business to, you know, buy this super expensive copy machine, but you could just go and make copies at the corner drugstore and things like that. That's when the independent publishing scene started to kick off around the world. And this thing called the zine scene started. And so people were making their own magazines and bypassing the regular distribution channels and creating new ones and coming together, sharing ideas. And there was a great unity around this. And I have not seen that level of excitement or unity or hopefulness and really a belief that we really can improve and change things for the better. I haven't seen that vibe since the zine scene. But I see it in crypto today. And so that's really what excites me the most is the unity and the inspiring ingenuity that is happening. That, to me, that's the big deal.
Second that, man. I totally second that. I'm right there with you. The amount of ingenuity and the amount of passion that you see within this space is absolutely astounding. It really is. And, you know, it's just like, it's amazing how much can actually be accomplished just out of sheer passion alone.
Yeah.
And there's so much of that within this space. It's unbelievable. And I agree 150% with what you just said. You know, it's all about the communities and it's all about, you know, changing the world, man, changing how people view other people and how people view life, I guess. And that's mostly what it's become to me. And Professor.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
How has crypto changed your life?
Well, I think for one thing, I now issue art in a totally different way. So previously I would, you know, do a bunch of drawings, put them out in a book, or sell individual art pieces. Now, because you can put art on the blockchain and issue cryptocurrency and trade, and it's attached to the art through something called a non-fungible token, that has totally changed the way that I could reach people. and sell art that way. So it's a completely new business model that is, I believe, it's in its infancy. It's really in its infancy, but it's happening. I've made 4 sales in the past 24 hours, and I wasn't even trying.
That's awesome.
So it's that kind of stuff.
That's amazing. I don't know. It's cool how people are actually like embracing it and using it instead of, there was so much on the speculative side and so much about making money and all that. But now that people are actually starting to realize all the potential of what this technology offers us, they're actually jumping in and starting to get deeper they're leaving the exchanges and going in and actually using the product that these companies and these tokens are affiliated with. But it's even cooler to start seeing this where it's, like community peer-to-peer type stuff with a truly revolutionary use of crypto and to have 4 sales in a day on a technology this new with such a limited scope. I mean, that's crazy in my opinion. I know that this is somewhat of a big space, but in all reality, it's not that big.
Yeah. I mean, and just to compare, the art market is, I think it's $64 billion in sales in last year.
Mm-hmm.
And the crypto art market it's just a tiny fraction. I mean, online sales only account for, I think, 9%. And that's crypto is a subcategory of that 9%. That's just all online art sales, only 9%. So we have barely scratched the surface. So we're still in the very early stages of this, but what it presents to art collectors and other creatives that maybe want to become artists or want to become collectors is it presents new economic opportunity. That is what people can really research and look into is opportunity that wasn't there before. That's what's exciting about it.
So I'm kind of curious, like what are your thoughts on actually tokenizing physical art and selling physical art instead of just digital stuff? Is that something that seems feasible to you, or are there too many potential problems with fraud?
Fraud's going to be a big deal, and thieves will always be part of this earth. So That's going to be a challenge, but there are people who are building systems to guard against it. Like, for example, I'm involved in building a project called PixEOS, and that'll be on the EOS blockchain.
Okay.
It's pronounced EOS. And so we're going to be issuing, digital art, but also physical art. And I think the way to do it to really authenticate people first is there's like a know your artist protocol where you're not going to be able to issue physical art for sale on the market unless you go through and verify who you actually are, so that it's not just some random people saying that they're Andy Warhol. Obviously there needs to be a verification process. And then the other thing that's going to be important is you're issuing the way that it's going to work well is you issue the physical art, and bundled package with the physical art is also a unique digital art that is of the physical art, and that is tied to what's called the non-fungible token. And so when the person buys the physical art, they get the physical art, they get this non-fungible unique token, and then they could trade that on the blockchain. And then, of course, each person would have to then send the artwork to the new owner. But those are the ways that it could really prosper and create new economic models. That said, outside of that, there's people. One of my biggest business moves is just selling digital art, not attached to anything physical, and people are just buying the digital art in the form of a non-fungible token and trading that. So that's for the kind of digital nomads that don't want all this physical stuff because they move a lot, or they rent and they don't want to put holes in the wall. They can just buy the digital art, project it on their smart TV or an LCD projector, and keep it in their mobile phones and show it off or trade it. And that's this new paradigm is opening up.
Yeah, we got to be realistic about what it's going to look like. Digital art's going to be, there's always going to be a physical art market, but digital art's going to become a much more real thing. It's more and more probable these days that somebody is actually willing to put up a digital picture frame, like in this age, even still in 2019, most of us, and maybe it's just us old people, but most of us think about a digital art like hanging on a wall on an LCD picture frame is like, I don't know. I don't think that's the same thing. It doesn't have the same feeling to me as actually having a real piece of art up there. Even a print is still different than just having that digital screen. But people are growing up now like with screens in their hands. Like this is a whole different world and a whole different art form for them. And it's not about the physical medium anymore. It's just about the content. So it's a weird shift that's going to take a lot of getting used to, but I think it's going to become a really huge industry. It already is, but we're just on the move from here.
Yeah, there's already a whole culture of people, huge gaming market, which I think is over $100 billion a year. And people in that market are totally used to dropping $20, $30 for in-game items that enhance their character. And they don't really even own those items. Those items are not on a blockchain. They just stay in this kind of walled garden of the game. So imagine now projects come along and they're already starting up already where you could, things like Spells of Genesis with their game where the blockchain cards, you play these cards in the game, but you can also take them out of the game and trade them. And it's all done on the blockchain. So when the gamers figure out that they can actually go with games where you can own all those in-game items for real and trade them, that's really going to just blow people's mind and just create a whole new rush of people that want to be part of this.
I really like the comment, what you said about the non-fungible tokens when it comes to the digital art side of things. And there's just so many things happening and so much transpiring over the last couple of years within this space, things you never would have even dreamed of. And that's the really unique thing, but I do want to ask, have you ever, how do you typically purchase your crypto? And have you ever used a crypto ATM?
I've seen one. There was one at a restaurant down the block from me in Pasadena. I haven't used it, but how I purchase crypto is I've used Gemini Exchange. I like them. I like their security protocols. And then, of course, just selling art and receiving crypto, that's even better.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime you can receive crypto for your efforts, that's even better. And I'm actually working on a few different angles when it comes to my line of work. I'm a carpenter by trade, so trying to come up with a way to say to my customers, okay, I'll knock such and such, percentage off if you pay me in crypto. And I think that would be really sick to be getting paid totally in cryptocurrencies.
That'd be excellent. Yeah. And there's projects where it's very common in the crypto space to, if you're on a crypto project, building an app and things like that, they pay the workers in the cryptocurrency on the blockchain that they're working on, and that's totally normal. And then they could go to exchanges and trade that out, or sit on it, hold it, do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, exactly. I really like, I've used the coin flip ATMs recently, and I've used it once in the past, and then I used it once again this past weekend. And, it's cemented in how easy it actually is to use, and how convenient, because it's like, 10 minutes away from my house, so I could just drive over there and, buy some crypto on a dip and not have to go through Coinbase.
Coinbase can kiss your ass at that point.
Oh my God, right? Those guys are just, Coinbase is outrageous with fee. Just fee structures alone in this market, in this industry is just, it's appalling. It really is. And, I think everybody says, oh, government this and government that. You know what? To be honest with you, I totally believe the exchanges are our biggest, worst enemy right now when it comes to their astronomical fees. They are just raping us hand over fist, and it's frustrating. Sorry, I had to vent.
Tell us what you really think, Mitch.
Well, there definitely needs to be fairness. I think it's a competitive market, and if they price themselves out of being competitive, they are in the crosshairs to have somebody else come along and replace them. So
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. And that's just it. I've always said on Twitter, the exchanges, technically, they need us more than we need them, if you think about it. So all people have to do is really stand up and say, you know what? No, this is ridiculous. And like you said, there's so many exchanges out there. Number one, to find reputable ones is a challenge in itself, but to find reputable ones that are fee structured fairly, that's even a bigger challenge. You could probably narrow it down to less than 5, I would say, of that meet all of those requirements or all of those targets, so to speak.
Yeah, it's really an opportunity for people who do want to compete. Absolutely. And I think more exchanges are going to be popping up left and right, and there'll be more decentralized solutions. And right now, it's hard to use a decentralized exchange. I've used them before. Still challenging. You got to kind of know your stuff.
Yeah.
But they'll figure it out. They'll make it easier, but it's just we're not there yet.
Not yet.
Well, and decentralized exchanges are so difficult to run right now, like from a business standpoint, just from legislation issues. Not all countries, but especially like the United States.
Yeah,
it's really, really, really hard to run a truly decentralized exchange because you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get screwed. Everything's going to get shut down. It's not going to be pretty. We've seen it happen with, was it Ether Delta first and then became Fork Delta? But decentralized exchange is obviously the best answer in the long run for a swap of sorts. There's reasons to have like a centralized exchange. If you need real quick speeds for transactions, like if you're trading, you're going to want to use a centralized exchange in most cases. Now, that's not saying that a DEX could potentially reach that same type of speed as soon, once we have a solid enough type of blockchain that those transactions can process quick enough and fully confirm fast enough to actually trade like that. That's fine, but it's just not feasible yet. So there's just a lot of improvements that need to be made to a DEX, but eventually when we get there, it'll be the best option for that type of exchange,
Yeah.
Do you trade or do you keep an eye on the market?
No, when I first got into it, and then you buy your first coins, you get crazy. You start checking the market like a couple times a day, and that's just so dumb.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, right.
When I was trading, I was checking my phone like every 12 seconds.
Yeah, that's just so wrong.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Good for your brain.
It's fucked when you're looking at a 1 minute chart. I mean, come on.
Seriously, I have traded on a 1 minute chart before. That was like one of my points where I was like, I'm trading on a 1 minute chart. I'm doing this the really hard and really, like, you can't even tell anything from a 1 minute chart. You're just setting yourself up to fuck yourself. You're like
a chihuahua chasing a biscuit.
Exactly. It's just more exciting because things are moving faster. And when you first come into this and you have no idea what you're doing, and you're like, oh my God, this is the easiest one to tell because I can see what's happening right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, so I've done some things in the stock market, some things in crypto, but after I've even written a book about God and finance, just what the Bible says about money. And there's a chapter in there, a little bit about crypto. And what I realize is nobody can really read what's going to happen next. We don't know the future. And so it's best not to check it so much. If you're planning on getting out, time it well. But if you're going to in it for the long haul, then there's really not a lot of reason to check it, to be checking the market so much. So that's kind of my philosophy on it. It's better for my mental health too.
I mean, that's true. I mean, I've had that exact same sort of feeling. You get to the point where it's exciting and you finally get to you finally are able to be successful at a few trades, and you start feeling like a little bit about what you're doing, but then you become obsessed and you just get drawn in, and it's just that's all you can think about. And you're like, oh my God, I could be missing a trade right now, or oh shit, that trade that I bought I bought with the intent of selling in a month, I better look at it and see what's happening just to make sure that I stress myself out to the maximum.
Yeah.
it becomes a nightmare at some point.
And I just tell I've actually told my kid this, and then I turn this into one of my cartoons, and then I tokenize that. So then I put that art on the blockchain. But I made a cartoon of what I said to my son, talking about money and life. I said, son, I'm wiser than you think I am. But son, I'm not as wise as I think I am.
That's fact.
There's a lot of truth in that.
And that helps me keep myself in check, but it also helps him, to realize.
You got to know what you don't know, or you're going to get in trouble.
And actually, that's one of my popular tokenized comics I put that on the Bitcoin blockchain. There's also running on top of Bitcoin is a chain called Counterparty, and then that's actually the first blockchain where you can issue rare digital art. And I also have some art on that chain too, through the same people who I mentioned that game Spells of Genesis. We also have put some art in their gallery too, on Book of Orbs it's called. So yeah, there's all kinds of ways to do this.
So you said you had 3 kids. Do they all own crypto? I'm assuming you've set them up with wallets, or?
No. Actually, my youngest one wants. I'm trying to think. My youngest one is interested in it. She's a young teen, so she's not going to be doing a lot with that right now. But she does want to start making rare digital art. So she was actually working on a piece today that she might turn into a tokenized piece. And then my middle son, he's at UCR, University California Riverside, and he's actually interested in the space. He might get more into it, but and my oldest, she's more of a writer, so I don't think she's that into it at this time. But times I'm sure will change.
Well, you should. Have you heard of Po.et coin, Po.et project?
No.
They are using the blockchain as a timestamp for the POE stands for proof of existence. So if you take a written article or a story, whatever, just a piece of writing, and you run it through their system, it hashes it, and then it stamps that hash to the blockchain. And they actually just switched over to the Bitcoin blockchain, I think about 6 or 7 months ago. So they're stamping it to Bitcoin now. And then you can actually cross-reference to see, you take that same exact piece of work, and you run it back through that algorithm, and you get that same hash. And so you can go to the blockchain and search it and see that the work was stamped on that date and that time. So there's still some things that they're trying to overcome as far as making it so that it cannot be manipulated in any way. But
that's great.
But that's something that she might be interested in that front. They actually have an integration with a few of those blogging platforms that they have plugins for. So as soon as you publish your article or whatever, it automatically stamps it on the Bitcoin blockchain.
I like that. I'm going to have to look into that for her and me, because I write too. And that's actually another good use case that is already being used for the rare digital art, where it helps to establish provenance, which is, just a fancy French originating word that just shows here's where the origins, here's where the art came from.
Right.
So, when you tokenize your art, it's basically say on the blockchain is in the metadata is typically what address bought the art, what the sale price was, the date. Those are the minimum and who transacted with who, so who sold the art to who. Those are the minimum that are on the blockchain. And so that helps establish a good record of provenance where, imagine if we're, now we just take it for granted, but imagine if, to try to piece together, well, who bought this Renaissance painting from the 1500s? It's kind of piecing together from scraps to know. And now if there's a very prominent piece of art, you can easily establish the chain of ownership in terms of digital art. It really is going to revolutionize how we do provenance, which is a big, big deal, because our art world has been known to have some famous fakes, a lot of shenanigans going on there. So this will help guard against it.
So Joe, let's go down the adoption rabbit hole. What are your thoughts on adoption of cryptocurrencies, and how far away do you think we are from mass adoption?
I'm thinking, based on what the projects which I'm involved in, including PixEOS and some stuff on Ethereum and some stuff on Counterparty, and a few others. What I'm seeing is the projects that make it so that it's almost like you're not even using crypto, or you're just kind of using another app and it's just seamless. Like as simple as, sending money by just pressing buttons and not having to remember any keys. Once we get to that level, it's going to take off. And I'm thinking that's maybe 2 to 3 years away. I think there's already apps out there that do that, like Maker's Place Gallery. They make it so that you don't even need to own crypto to buy the rare digital art. You could buy it with a credit card. It's very seamless. But in terms of actually getting popular enough where it's, competing with physical art and, the Instagrams of the world, we're still, I think maybe 2 to 3 years off.
Now, what about expenditures? What about using cryptocurrency as a currency and spending it as such? How far off do you think we are with that?
I think we're actually a lot closer to that, but it can't be Bitcoin because nobody's going to want to sell their Bitcoin.
No. It's definitely not. Bitcoin's too damn slow. Expensive. It's like trying to. Here's a good comparison. Spending Bitcoin is like trying to haul around a couple of bars of gold. It just doesn't make much sense, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
I don't know. I still carry my gold bars around. Just whack off a sliver.
Yeah.
Cover it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, Litecoin and Digibyte and dare I say XRP, Bitcoin Cash. I mean, there's so many different options out there now for actually spending.
Bitcoin Cash. Don't say Bitcoin Cash.
If you look at Satoshi's vision, don't worry. If you look at Litecoin or you look at Digibyte, and how fast the transaction speeds are, and and all that, I think so many people are like, oh, we're just so far away from adoption of cryptocurrencies. Well, get out there and use it, people. Get out there and put it into circulation, put it into the market, put it into the ecosystem, and that's what's going to help spark it. So I was just curious as to what your stance was on using it to make purchases. Like, have you ever used crypto to buy anything?
Yeah, that's a lot more common. That is, because I'm in crypto, I do that. And I mean, now they have, like, for example, on the EOS chain, there's a app, Sense Chat, where it's more like a secure version of Messenger. But and now they've integrated where you could send, you're chatting with somebody, you could send them some crypto through the application, which is really cool. I think sending crypto through Messenger, once more people catch on to that, that's going to be a big application. So that, I think, it could happen a lot quicker than people wrapping their heads around the whole art concept. But that's going to happen too. So I think once they make it seamless, where it's within your Messenger apps like Sense Chat, and make it just so that is you're just using an app just the same way where you would, like if my banking app for traditional money, I just press a few buttons and I've just sent my kids some money, and I didn't have to open up a lot of private keys. When they make that really, really easy, and where the crypto has a real world value, then it's going to take off.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think you're right on there. It's only a matter of time. And like you say, there's something super important about taking it to the next level, building those abstraction layers that just make it a seamless process. Like the mass adoption of crypto is going to look like 2019 regular money, right? It's got to be the same thing. People don't like to change. It's got to be a similar experience. Now, there's obviously differences, like so going from cash to checks to debit cards, but it's the same amount of ease with which it happens, with a slight improvement each time. You can't go too far out there. You can't start telling people that you have to manage private keys. It's not going to work.
Yeah, we're close too, because I mean, most money today that's actually exchanged, it is digital.
Exactly.
So, and then once people start to really look into the background of how the money is created from thin air, and most governments are just kind of printing the money, and it's not really a limited supply like like the old days where it was backed by gold. Like we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
People are gonna get. Most people they have no idea that that's the case, but. That's another good thing about the crypto sphere is it does educate people a little bit more about monetary policy, which I think is just good as a citizen to just understand how that works.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. And is that not crazy that most people don't even know that the dollar is not backed by gold anymore, or that the Federal Reserve is not a federal entity?
Those things. It still boggles. I mean, I've known that for years. It still boggles my mind that people are okay with it.
Right. Or that they don't know. So many people don't even know that. I get into the argument. People say, well, what backs crypto? I'm like, well, what backs the dollar? Well, gold backs the dollar. I said, no, it don't. It hasn't since the 70s or 60s. Try again. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, then the Federal Reserve. I'm like, the Federal Reserve is not a federal entity, right? Oh, really? It's like, come on, get with the times, like you said. I think that's another positive thing that comes from the crypto space is learning about monetary systems and learning about the monetary policies that are in place today.
Yeah, that's super important. I know I worked at the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce for, I think, 7 or 8 years. And every year, we were partnered with banks and things like that. And they would always have this financial education week. And there was all this push to help educate people. Sadly, this was never part of it. This wasn't a program run by the Chamber. They just helped promote it, which they're a great Chamber of Commerce. But this is the kind of thing that once it goes more mainstream, we'll just help people understand this is really truth. And then they can make better decisions once they understand what truth is.
Absolutely. So, Joe, let me ask you one more question before we wrap up here today.
Yeah.
Tell us about Waffle Iron Man.
Waffle Iron Man. Oh, boy. Well, it was a cartoon I did. I think I put it in my latest book, which is called Silly Daddy Forever. But obviously, I grew up reading the Marvel comics, and then I read them to the kids, and back in the day. And so part of the Marvel tradition is they make parodies of themselves. I think it was called Not Brand Etch. They used to have a comic where they would make fun of themselves, and then I come from the tradition of wacky packages back in the 70s where instead of Mop and Glow, they would spoof the name and be like Radioactive Glow. I can't remember what it was. But so this was just me taking Iron Man, and I think I had Iron Man on my mind, and my wife was making waffles, and my kids were doing something, and they wanted blueberries, and so I just came up with that and turned it into a comic. So yeah, that happens when you're a dad.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I hear you there. I got 3 boys, and it's the strangest things. You hear the weirdest things at the most random times, and I guess sometimes that can lead to inspiration.
Oh yeah, my wife and kids. I mean, they're like content machines. They just crank out funny stuff. That's half the time they're not even trying.
Nice.
It's great. But I'm really glad we could talk, and there's so many good use cases for art that the blockchain opens up. You could have art that's a non-fungible token that's also a VIP ticket to an event.
That's awesome.
It's funny because I know, now I know, I think a total of 3 people, and there's probably a lot more, but 3 people that come to mind that are really good and into art, so to speak, in the crypto space, you being one of them. And then there's, I don't know if did you ever run across or hear of Amanda Nation?
Amanda? No.
Okay. So Amanda used to be back in the day, used to be on the John McAfee team, and she put out some artwork pieces, just posted some pictures of some of her stuff. And it was just like, wow, I was blown away by it, And so it's just funny how you're seeing more and more of people that are actually into art and that are really good at it. We have this guy that's a friend of ours, and his name is Benza. And, there was a lot of things that transpired. I won't get into all that, but to see the creativity come out of this guy, all sparked because of something that transpired on Twitter, and see his creativity and his talent for art shine and blossom since then has been pretty crazy. So, I do have a fond liking for art, and I think art comes in many different forms. Like if you look at the type of stuff that I build and the type of stuff that I make as a finish carpenter, there could be said, it could be said that the wood is my canvas, and my medium, so to speak. And I really enjoy creating beautiful pieces with it. So in that regard, I can totally relate with artists in general.
Oh yeah, that's what you do. It's super useful and creative. You need both.
Yeah, anybody can draw a straight line, but to get into the think outside the box and making stuff really unique, whether it be on canvas or whether it be out of wood or whether it be out of metal, that to me it takes a certain individual to be able to do that. Joe, this has been an amazing podcast, sir. I've really enjoyed talking with you this evening, and your energy is great. And I'm hoping that we get another opportunity to talk a little bit further down the line.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really love your energy and where you stand with the crypto space. Do you actively follow us, the professor and myself, on Twitter?
I think so, but let me check. I know I've been to your page recently, and just but I'll check. I'll make sure that I do if I haven't.
Yeah, follow us, because we're both really big on the adoption side of cryptocurrencies and community side of cryptocurrencies, and I think both of us really strive to bring community to the forefront, and that's why we do our podcast. I mean, we do our podcast solely because of the community and for the community, so they can hear from people like yourself that have passion and that have energy and different uses of cryptocurrency, like with art, so to speak. So yeah, please, by all means, follow us and check out what we're doing for adoption, and the efforts put forth by a lot of our friends and followers.
And not to mention, you're not going to want to miss the rap battles on Friday nights.
Right?
Because I think you're going to have to join us on Friday and lay down some Twitter tweet raps.
Wow. I will try to do that. That sounds really cool.
We'll make sure to shoot you a tag when we get started. And if you happen to be online, lay something down and have some fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know I am following Rebecca. But I'll make sure I follow both of you if I haven't already.
Beautiful. Ooh, we'll do the same.
Right on. All right, Joe, have yourself a great day. It was awesome talking to you. Stay safe there in California. I know the fires have been brutal. Hopefully we get some weather coming your way that changes the landscape of things. But in the meantime, stay cool, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.
All right, thanks, guys. It was an absolute pleasure. Take care.
Absolutely, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Well, that was great.
That was a fun one. I always love talking to somebody who really loves using crypto in whatever way that they're doing it.
Yeah, and it just it doesn't matter. Right? It really doesn't. The energy is what it's all about, and you feel that energy coming off of this guy, and I think that's so cool. Yeah, I just really do.
There's excitement running through his veins. That's for sure. He loves this shit just as much as we do.
Hell yeah.
And I remember it was funny because we were sitting there at CIS and he comes walking up and he's got these little business cards with his art on them. And it is fun because like so many people, because it was an investment focused conference. And so there were so many people there on a super businessy level and very, deep conversations and that kind of stuff. And he just comes walking up and we're talking about art and comics all of a sudden. And I mean, that was kind of a fun experience. Yeah. So it was glad to take that to the next level and actually have a full podcast with him.
That was at Wendy O's nacho bar party, wasn't it?
No, this was at the conference itself. He came up to our booth.
Oh, okay.
You're thinking of the guy that I texted you this morning.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah. No, I sometimes I wish we could, people would opt to show their face in video, just because if we've met before, it really helps to spark that memory bank that you can't necessarily achieve or reach without a visual, because we are such visual creatures.
There's been plenty of times where you go to connect to the podcast and you still don't really know, like, you recognize the name a little bit, but you can't really put a face to who it is. And voices don't really stick with you as much when you've only talked to somebody for 20 minutes.
No.
Or 5 in some cases, or never in a lot of cases, in fact. And, but as soon as you connect and that video comes on and you see that face, it's, oh yeah, that's Joe. He's the guy with the amazing art at CIS.
There's something to be said about humans being visual creatures, and we really are, if you think about it. I mean, just from, what is that called? Just from procreation methods or procreation standpoint, we're visual creatures. But
so isn't that one of the very reasons why crypto is so hard for people to understand? Because we are so visual that most of us can't wrap our head around how something that you can't possibly see has value.
Yeah, I guess. No, that's a very good point. I never thought of it that way, I mean, but we're tangible people, tangible creatures. So to me, tangible means visually and physically touching, creates that action on the senses that really locks into your memory banks, so to speak, because you can remember the texture of something that you've touched. You can remember the shape of something that you've looked at. But to remember, per se, somebody's voice and put it to a name, very challenging, or to, try to remember something that you've heard, but without a visual spark or a visual relation to, so to speak. Sometimes words just don't come, but.
Well, I know exactly what you're saying, though. It's like when you have all of those senses combined, then you really create an understanding.
Yes.
Internally. Yes. But when you have pieces of them, you don't truly have an understanding. And so that's like with money, we can think of money, it's just paper. Well, why is the paper worth something? Well, because it's tied, and we're going back to the mindset of what people are thinking right now. And that's money is tied to gold. I know what gold is. It's physical. I can hold it. I've probably owned some of it at some point. And I know that people pay money for it. And I can give them a piece of gold and they will hand me money. But with crypto, it's kind of the same thing. Like, well, here's a thing that isn't really necessarily worth anything. I'm referring to like the medium, right? Like data or bits in a computer aren't necessarily worth anything, but it's the code behind it that makes it worth something. But you hand them that and they can't see, they can see the code, but they can't see what it does. There's never that understanding. All the pieces are never quite together. And a lot of that comes from, in crypto, it comes from an education thing, right? And not just about crypto, but about technology. And if you went and if you surveyed the entire world of people that are 30 and older, I don't know what the number is, but it's going to be very high that have never coded before, right? Most people are not programmers, but kids these days are growing up with coding in school. Like they learn this as a thing, and so it's going to become something that's easy for them to understand. And as they grow into adulthood and become part of society, that allows us to shift, and the greater percentage of people actually starts to understand how the code works and why we can verify Bitcoin has value and why we can trust it. At that point, it becomes a more comfortable thing for people.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Man, this tonight was just, that was pretty deep, dude.
I know, man. I know.
I'm 3 beers in and I'm trying to wrap my head around what the hell you just said. And I'm like, holy fuck, that was deep.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day, but it's true.
It has been, it's been a long day. But I was like, oh my God, it's Tuesday already. Tomorrow's Wednesday. And then I was like, hey, holy fudge, it's already freaking December. I mean,
know,
right around
almost.
the corner. Where did November go? We were just in Vegas. I mean, a week ago, it seems. Oh my God. Time is not my friend right now. It just really is not my friend.
No, we've got a big winter storm coming in again, and I'm still not ready for winter because I've still been too busy doing everything else. And
well, same here. You know,
I
mean,
know the feeling.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I totally know the feeling. It's like, you know, the Christmas lights come out today and it's sunny and 50 degrees here today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, are you going to put Christmas lights up? I'm like, I got to go install this closet, you know? And I didn't, it's just, I've been going like crazy. I got freaking 3 jobs going, you know, and trying to keep up with everything else. It's been a struggle, but you know what? We'll get through it. We always do. And it's like, you know, I said, when we went on those excursions, right, with the Campfire, and we went to those conventions, I'm like, when I got back from Vegas, I'm like, I have to knuckle down and really, you know, make some money and get some work knocked out. And I've been doing just that. And it's challenging because I miss all the activity on Twitter, and I miss, you know, all the interactions on Twitter. But it's like, you know, sometimes the priorities kind of weigh themselves out. But, you know, Twitter will always be there, and I'll be back in full force before too long.
Oh, yeah. And I always say work in the winter, play in the summer. I always end up working in the winter and working in the summer. But, you know, I always try.
Yeah, work. It's like, God, it's a never-ending. What are we done being slaves to this work thing?
Man,
God.
I don't know, but I haven't taken the 4-wheeler out in 2 years now.
Oh,
I got a goddamn Banshee that I just put some money into, and brand new tires. And I've had it out 3 times on the brand new tires.
You went hunting. Didn't you take it hunting?
No, I sold my 4x4. I don't need a 4-wheeler when I go hunting. I walk my ass everywhere.
I love it.
I mean, I love 4-wheelers and all, and they're really nice. And I kind of, you know, I usually wish that I had one when I'm dragging the deer out, but
yeah,
you know, I walk my ass everywhere. I just like it that way.
Hell yeah.
Don't worry, I'll put you on a 4-wheeler when you come hunting.
Oh, damn straight. You guys have yourselves a great day, great evening, whatever the case may be. We love you all, and we thank you so much for following us, listening to the podcast.
Take it easy.
Peace.